Hi, I'm CEO and founder of HiJoJo Partners, Spiro Mentis. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having us today. Before I dive into my presentation, let me share a quick story on how I founded the company. A few years ago, I was working at a big investment bank called Mizuho. And most recently, I worked as one of the members of the investment department, looking around for investment ideas and so forth. And it occurred to me that one of my favorite companies, run by Elon Musk, SpaceX, was actually available to trade. So I spoke to a few friends in the US and tried to purchase some shares. But unfortunately, the minimum size we could transact was $5 million, about 500 million yen, which was obviously a little bit too pricey. So I turned down the offer. But my friend came back the next day and told me that he diced it up into small pieces, but found out that it was only $2.5 million, which wasn't small enough. So in the end, I turned it down. And a few days later, having dinner with my friends, I told them what happened. And they were actually all very eager to invest into SpaceX as well. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity to open up new investment ideas. And that's how I founded HiJoJo Partners. So with that, let me dive into the presentation. As most of you already know by now, Japan is having a major issue on lots of cash sitting in banks, and the government trying to push savings to investments has not really happened. If you look at US and Japan, US having almost close to half of their assets invested into equities, Japan, on the other hand, only has 10% plus. So if you look at the cash and deposits in Japan, it's almost equivalent to what US has. So that means there's almost about $10 trillion worth of cash sitting in Japanese banks. And this has always been a big issue that the government has tried to pursue, but obviously with no luck. And I was thinking this of an analogy similar to the north wind and the sun. The government, financial institutions, everyone trying to push people from savings to investments, while for some reason the sun is not there. There are obviously many reasons why it's not happening. And we feel that the second point, the lack of attractive investment opportunities for investors, is one of the key issues. Obviously, there are attractive investment opportunities out there. Some are more attractive, some are less attractive. And if you look at the US IPO market, which all of you know has been booming a lot, the public market performance, if you were to hold an IPO stock up until September last year for big VC-backed tech IPOs, the performance is really good. But if you invested pre-IPO, then it would have been a massive return. And there's a reason for that. Back in the 1990s, many US companies listed as a small company and grew after time. But things started to have a change right around Google, and especially after Facebook, when Facebook listed as a $100 billion company. So the company grew big enough, or actually too big, while it was private. And after the company goes public, the growth is much smaller. But investing into private equities is not a low-risk, low-return game. If you invest in early-stage startups, the risk is much higher. And if you if you invest into mid to late-stage companies, the risk is lower, but the return, you can have decent return. So this is basically where we're acting on. So apologies, but this is one of our bragging slides. In the last 2 years, we've invested into late-stage companies, mostly in US, some in Israel, and some in Japan. And fortunately, we already have companies that went public. Palantir through direct listing, SoFi announced a SPAC merger, as well as 23andMe. And hopefully we'll have a few more. And in terms of the assets that we've collected, we started in 2018 and collected close to 10 billion yen in assets, which is much more than aggregate of equity-based crowdfunding and shareholders community. But we are still only at the starting line. What we want to achieve going forward. From 2018, we started with face-to-face sales, and now we're actually moving on to online sales, which I'll explain in detail a bit more. But our end game is to create a platform where people can buy and sell private equities, fund holdings, and make this private equity more accessible. It's not an easy game in Japan because of many regulations, restrictions, but we're very fortunate to have a very strong team with a strong background and already licensed as a Type 2 financial instruments business, as well as many other licenses. To go a little bit deeper into what we're going to be achieving in the very near future is launching the HiJoJo Unicorn Fund. In a nutshell, basically retail investors will be able to invest into US unicorn investment opportunities from as small as 1 million yen, fully online, carefree, and we'll be providing details on financials to make it a transparent investment. The market opportunity is massive. The investor base we're looking for will be total of about 800 trillion yen. And this is how the service is going to look like. So people will be able to invest online through our registered app. We'll have enough financials, we'll have enough information and updates as they go along. So thank you for listening to us. We will be continuing to improve the access to the private markets. Thank you very much.